The-mischievous-adventures-of-whiskers. The morning sun streamed through the curtains, casting golden rays upon the cozy living room of the Parker household. It was a peaceful morning, the kind that promised calm and quiet. But peace was a fleeting notion in this home, for within its walls lived a small, mischievous ball of fur named Whiskers. Whiskers was a 6-month-old tabby kitten with fur the color of caramel and eyes as bright as emeralds. Tiny but inquisitive, Whiskers had a knack for turning the ordinary into the extraordinary. To him, every corner of the house was an unexplored frontier, every object a potential plaything, and every sound a call to adventure. Today would be no different. Whiskers began his morning as he always did, by pouncing onto the bed where his human, Clara, still lay fast asleep. With a gleeful chirp, he leapt on her stomach, startling her awake. Clara groaned. "Whiskers, it's not even 7, she mumbled, trying to pull the blanket over her head. But Whiskers was undeterred. He pawed at her face, then nibbled on a stray lock of her hair until she gave in. Fine, I'm awake," Clara sighed, dragging herself out of bed. She shuffled toward the kitchen to pour herself some coffee, but Whiskers had no intention of waiting around for breakfast. He darted off to the living room, his tail flicking with excitement. A soft flutter near the window caught his eye. The curtains swayed gently in the breeze, and beyond them, the shadows of birds danced on the patio. With a chirp of determination, Whiskers crouched low, wiggled his hindquarters, and launched himself at the curtains. His claws caught hold, and he began his ascent, scaling the fabric with the finesse of a tiny mountain climber. The curtains swayed and creaked under his weight, and by the time Clara arrived in the living room with her coffee, Whiskers was halfway up the drapes, swatting at the curtain rod. "Whiskers!" Clara exclaimed, setting her mug down hurriedly. "Get down from there!" She waved her hands, trying to dissuade him, but Whiskers only looked down at her with innocent green eyes, as if to say, "Why would I? This is fun!" Before she could reach him, the inevitable happened. The curtain rod gave way with a loud clang, and Whiskers tumbled to the ground in a flurry of fabric. Clara groaned as she surveyed the mess, but Whiskers simply stood, shook himself off, and strutted away with the confidence of a cat who had no regrets. Clara sighed as she hung the curtains back up. Meanwhile, Whiskers had already moved on to his next adventure, the kitchen. The tantalizing aroma of breakfast preparation had drawn him like a moth to a flame. Clara was frying eggs and toasting bread, her back turned to the counter, where she had left a small bowl of shredded cheese. Whiskers, ever the opportunist, hopped onto a chair, then onto the counter with practiced ease. He sniffed the air, his whiskers twitching. The cheese was within reach, his little paw extended, claws ready to swipe. "Whiskers, no!" Clara scolded, turning just in time to catch him in the act. Whiskers froze, his paw hovering over the bowl, and gave her his most innocent look. But before she could grab him, he snatched a mouthful of cheese and bolted, leaping off the counter and sprinting into the next room. "You're impossible!" Clara yelled after him, though she couldn't help but laugh. Whiskers had already disappeared under the couch, happily munching on his ill-gotten snack. Clara decided to focus on some work in her home office. She closed the door behind her, hoping for a moment of peace. Whiskers, however, had other plans. The closed door was a challenge, a barrier to be overcome. He sat in front of it, tail flicking, ears perked. With a soft meow, he began pawing at the door. When that didn't work, he tried scratching it, his claws making soft scritch-scritch noises. Clara, exasperated, called out, "Whiskers, not now!" Undeterred, Whiskers scoped out the room for another way in. That's when he noticed the nearby window, slightly ajar. Though it was screened, Whiskers saw his opportunity. He leapt onto the windowsill and began pawing at the screen. It took only a few swipes before the screen popped loose, and with a triumphant chirp, Whiskers squeezed through the gap and jumped outside. The backyard stretched out before him like an uncharted wilderness. The grass was lush and green, dotted with dandelions, and the air was alive with the sounds of chirping birds and buzzing insects. Whiskers darted across the lawn, chasing a butterfly that fluttered tantalizingly out of reach. And so, the day ended, with peace restored, for now. Whiskers' mischievous spirit ensured that life would never be boring, and Clara wouldn't have it any other way.